Then we can see each other. Should we just pull this out?
A little, yeah, diamond if we can do. This and that. We do it actually in the MPhil class also. Psychotherapy class is like this. So you make it a diamond and then it becomes close to the Pankaj circle. Yeah, we can see each other. No, that. Yeah, this makes it a little bit.
Yeah. Like an elongated hexagon. Anu?
Let people sit down. Rick, Rukmin. Let people come in. They have taken a leave break, it appears. Many people have taken a leave. Hitesh, এখানে আরে বাবা আমি তো এখানে বসে It's not anything. He is here, Menon is there, Rukmin is here. I'll come. Professor Menon and this is come here.
Imran.
अरे come here ना क्या है इस सीट में क्या फर्क है?
Too much in the center.
No, that is the head end of the table. How did you know this is the head end of the table?
Because you are sitting.
No, that's power and innocence. Vinod बार-बार याद दिलाता है.
This is Vishnu Durjunum.
Right. I know.
Bed.
Not
Bed.
from the bed.
No, that's because you are entering from that door. It's worth pondering upon. Why are we considering this side as the head of the table?
We all know.
Because we are entering from that door, I think.
Exactly. It's only Olu who is in the denial. We all know why there's no other door.
Dr. Menon is here. Deep is there. If you want to go by power and innocence, Dr. Nagpal is there. Rick is there. So,
all powerful people seem to point out to me.
I thought all the chairs were full, but when we became hexagon, I
no,
said,
everybody
they
took
were
a loo
not.
break.
Oh,
People have to be given a loo break. Na?
you know.
Shamulima and Rajesh want us to have tea and then start again.
Everybody was there. I was sitting on a seat that actually Shaman was.
What happened to your seat?
In fact, Shamulima,
Shamulima?
Vinod, सब आगे आओ ना. be rearranged like this.
Actually, Pankaj
A
taught us
hexagon.
very nicely.
Yeah, then you have
What
to
is
see the
circle?
and
I-
two people you have to see.
Yeah, you have to be able to see everyone, so that I can't see.
You can see someone.
From my hand. Sorry?
Let Saroj come. Let Saroj.
See, one major problem of the whole idea of profession is also its tendency to. There are two kinds of things which happens, I think, in the knowledge structure. That is something called progressive differentiation, and also as as opposed to that would be the integrative reconciliation, if I may put it that way. There's a possibility of everything getting differentiated. It can be theory and practice. It can be within profession itself. You have surgery and physicians. And that progressive differentiation is a tendency of all kinds of these structures. And you have to. So unless there is something called integrative reconciliation, you need to really put them, theory and practice, various kinds of professions, agriculture, livelihood, planning, all these things coming together, and psychology and the rest of it coming together. These kinds of integrative reconciliation has also to happen simultaneously. Otherwise, we'll get more and more a very limited, mechanical, technocratic view of development and change, which is a problem. And that's where the division of labor becomes each one becomes a specialized one, and there's no possibility in which there's no movement possible. All of us occupy our respective slots, which already has been structured for us. So there's absolutely no communion, there's no movement possible. So in some sense, what we are trying to do is almost like a mission impossible in the sense it's trying to sort of make possible this daunting task of reconciling in an integrated fashion the various kinds of vantage points, various kinds of perspectives that exist here, valid perspectives. So you need to really integrate those perspectives. You can't unify perspectives, that will be difficult. That's not even possible. But you can reconcile between these perspectives in a integrated fashion. By the way, these phrases are not mine. Progressive differentiation, integrative reconciliation is actually a cognitive psychologist called David Ausubel has involved this.
I really wanted to wait for Saroj, but maybe we should start, right? Saroj, come on. Yes. Urban is training. Archana has joined us. Yeah. Vida, can we do a quick round of introduction before I speak? We don't know each other's names also. A quick one, very quick.
Just our names.
First,
Not
Imran
just
has
our
to
names
introduce
and-
everybody to everybody else.
That's it.
Imran.
I can't do it. I don't know all of them, but I'll try. That's Professor Menon.
Just kidding, Imran.
Like I'm the one who would know not too many people. I've met most
He's
of
the
them.
newest at
I've
AUD.
met once during my interview. I met as I haven't met sir.
Much louder.
Okay,
Start the mic.
And Imran needs to be in his speaker.
Okay. I'm the newest entrant to this program, so to speak. I'm about 2 months old in this program. I joined in August. I'm doing my research in conflict areas, and then I'm looking at the role that power relations play in poverty reduction schemes in conflict areas. And I joined here. I teach a course on politics, resistance, and transformation, and another one on deploying development. And the rest, I'm sure everybody
We'll get to that.
I'm Gurjeet and I've been here since January. I've met some people from the field. I'm so happy to see Archana today.
She has been visiting Dindori again and again.
And I would like to know other people from the field.
Well, I'm Deepankar, neither from Pradhan nor from AUD, and neither am I fighting for an independent.
Identity.
Program.
You are an independent analyst.
Neti.
Nivedita. I'm with Pradhan and I'm with AUD too now. I've plonked myself here and I feel a lot part of being in both places and a new place that we are trying to build.
Yeah, so we should talk from the center as well, because everybody listening.
Nivedita has a workstation at the center now. The imagined center.
I came to pick one for
The workstation क्या है? एक टेबल है, एक चेयर है. She brings her own laptop. That's a workstation.
गमछा बिछा
हाँ,
के
बस.
मेरे लिए एक ही चीज है. गाँव में काम आ रही है.
But is there no room for her?
No, the same, the rooms need
Same those 3 rooms downstairs which need renovation and all that.
It's,
But that is the imagined
it's the
CBD
one
space.
next to the blue that is being renovated.
No. Like in a train. When we travel unreserved, no? We stand near the news.
No, it's a good place. It will become
It will.
So once the winter comes, it will be very nice. Beautiful flowers on the ground. So
It is where we started SHS. Actually,
And where we are.
Yeah.
I'm Deep, Neti. Don't be mixed up. I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow or what I did yesterday.
That's all. Barsha.
I'm Varsha, I'm working with Pradhan and with AUD. I have been with this program for the
She's a member of CD.
some are, some are not.
My name is Saroj and I'm from Pradhan, Raigad.
In fact, sir, just share with our group at least over here, the students that are with.
And also it's important for Varsha and Saroj and all of you to say a little bit about your backgrounds. You know,
Okay.
what are you trained in and stuff like that. Because one also understands the baggage
What
you
are your
carry.
interests now?
And will not ask questions.
Varsha.
Okay, I'm an agriculture graduate with a rural management degree from XIME, and then I worked for some 4 years in different organizations.
You are an agriculture graduate.
Yes.
All these years I didn't know that.
Then I worked with Seva. I had worked with Seva for, I was working in Munger, Bihar, so there were the
I met people from Munger, Seva Munger, and Delhi.
Then I was with IIM Bangalore. There was a microfinance group under one professor there, so I was working there, where I got an opportunity to visit places all over India, interact with many organizations from Nagaland, Assam, UP, Karnataka. After that I moved to CARE. There I was for 1 year. I was working in a country, I mean it's a different role, so I've gone from working in a grassroots to then finally giving out loans. After that I took a 2-year break. I was at home, took after my son. And then one of my batchmates was in Pradhan. So he mentioned that why did you come and work in Pradhan? It's a nice place and you got the opportunity in Pradhan and applied and got through. So I've been in Pradhan for the last 4 years and look after recruitment and selection, 90-day recruitment and selection. So in that capacity I've been associated with the entry program also in the recruitment and selection.
And Varsha and Gurpreet work closely on a number of things and issues.
And are now ready to look at where the students will go and bringing in all those.
So all brochures and all events that you see happening, they primarily, others also help, but the two of them anchor many of them.
I've been Pradhan since 2007 at Raigada, and with students, there are 5.
What's your baggage?
Academically, I am graduate in forestry. I don't know.
Forestry.
That's what Ajay was saying to ask question about that. I don't know much about. But in Pradhan, it's, on this development journey, I have traveled with this tribal community of Raigada. Very close to my heart, this engagement we are doing there. And AUD student, there are 5 students at Raigada. Now, as a guide, I am guiding to Neeraj and Bhavya, but we in touch with everyone. 5 of Anchal, Natasha, Jalapal. We all stay together. Basically, our office is at about 25 kilometers from the small panchayat where I am staying. It's a room where it's all debates, these fights, we all always have, every night we have it. So Bhavya, Neeraj and most of them, Pratik also stays there. Natasha and Anchal are at JK2. But weekends we meet there. And this is what we are traveling.
They really love it.
We had a very good day.
Beautiful bonding that happens.
Is it because they can fight every night?
I think so. They go to the sea also sometimes.
There is
By the way, what did the cyclone affect you?
No. Only a wind. Wind effect. Our fight last night also, we are Neeraj and we are very against you that he is saying that you are not giving time to me. You are focusing on me.
Focusing on Bhavya.
And yesterday he left Pradhan office because of this mix of thought that I am not listening to him.
But I think that's a great possibility if Neeraj is fighting about that.
You have to whisper it properly.
I said him to meet today evening and he's saying no, I am not angry but I am very disappointed. We will not meet evening. I will write to mail. If you are more comfortable reading mail and replying on that.
I am Sutar, Singh Sutar. I also joined with Saurabh in 2007, same years. I joined Pradhan campus after completion of my BTech in agricultural engineering
From the same university.
Same university. I decided in hostel, in hostel just close to him. We know before. I am in Pradhan Kumla team after completion of my DSF in Jamshedpur. I am guiding Ankit.
Oh, Ankit.
He usually stays in my room, but he is very lovely guy to stay in the village. So most of the time he used to stay in village.
I'm great. I'm in the School of Indian Studies. This semester I'm teaching a course in Justice in the REFRAT program. And I've been trained in equal parts in psychology and sociology. And I need a haircut.
And I need a haircut.
That we can take care of now.
Share some of the psychology and sociology.
Baggage.
Myself Smita. I've done management.
Honestly.
No, sorry.
What's Smita's background?
I have done management.
Management.
From SIM. Then I
I was with Oilers, which is basically a subsidiary issue from EDP. Oil, Dhara Oil. I was worked there about 3 years. Then I took a long break when I got married to my first child. Then after that, since then I have been in Japan. Guidance from the 17 years now.
I am Sukant Varnaka. I have done my MSc Economics from Calcutta University, and in 2007, same batch of Saroj and Sukant. I joined Pradhan. First in BSc I stayed at Bakura, and after that, since 4.5 years, 5.5 years, I am in Gunda. विजेंदर मेरे साथ रहते थे, और विजेंदर को मैं जहाँ रहते थे तो पहले हम साथ में थे. अभी after getting married I am shifted Gunda. We used to stay at Kyoto alone with one of our assistant, James Sonia. अच्छा है, मतलब ये जो एवडी प्रधान इंटरवेंशन है तो इसमें पार्ट एज अ पार्ट इस हैप्पी टू ये पार्ट ऑफ इस.
I'm Shamini. I have done MA in psychology and I'm working here since 2009 at AUD at various places. I'm Archana. I'm based at Indori. I did graduation in agriculture. I'm from agriculture background. But after that, I also did master in development communication. It was actually it was not a planned decision.
You have to be so apologetic about doing a PhD.
That's all. I enjoyed. After that, I enjoyed. Particularly,
have a PhD is like.
it was one of my teachers. He influenced me in exploring what I am comfortable with, what I am presently pursuing. I'm very comfortable with whatever I'm doing. Pradhan gives me a totally gave me it is another type of university other than my previous university college. And I'm married and my partner is also in Pradhan. We are based in Indori, but he's working in Bangladesh and joining this. And being a part of this initiative, initially I had apprehension. I was not very much keen at that time. I was particularly a new type of responsibility. But after having discussion with Nivedita and at present I'm totally enjoying. I really because interacting with Shaina, Mani and Vishali,
Who are the three with you?
they are with us. And they are very different type of individuals.
How is it managing China? That's the question.
She's very, I think, interacting with her, I'm also learning how to, because for me, I've never met a person like Shaina. So
Nobody
for me
has.
also, I'm equipping myself. So it's always good to experiment with yourself also, by interaction styles and how to understand in a better way.
Very nice.
I wish it was up. I wish it was up.
No one else called.
I had the same experience. Once going back and college is deep.
I haven't received.
She threatened me that she's going to call me again, but she didn't.
It's a very, I think, a person who is very on her, she's not, she's the way she interacts with me, she interacts with the lady in the house. So I find it's treating a person as so equally. I really enjoy understanding.
That's nice.
I respect her.
She's very interesting in the village.
And personally, I am guide of Himani, sorry. And other colleagues, my other Ajay, Amit, they are
Lighting up.
I'm Vinod. I've done my Masters in Education and Psychology. I teach two papers. I'm part of two papers this semester. One is called Experiencing Educational Failure, and the other paper is called Experiencing Self.
Myself, Suvakan, I'm from Mumbai team. After completing and graduating my results, I
Suvakan.
Suvakan. I got to campus from Nigeria and from 2005 I am in Bumla team after completing my BSc in Bumla.
BSc?
Yeah, Bumla.
BSc. Development Industries.
Yeah.
Shubhakanka is an engineer, agriculture.
Agriculture.
And then also in the due course of time I have completed the MBA in HR and Finance from SME. It was a dream for me. I have to take a MBA certificate from my life. For this in the due course of time I have completed it. And I have, it's a very enjoying journey from starting from the day one from Pradhan to Bula till date. And from last month on 20th September I added a new responsibility in my life, which is a team leader and which was in the Brazil's head and now he's team leader. And formally I am now enjoying with Partha for guiding him. But the initial period I was guiding Gideon and Partha both, and but some due course of time and due to some engagement of other members, I have shifted Gideon to Rajiv, and Rajiv has two responsibilities, Gideon and Deche. But I think from day of tomorrow I have to guide Partha, Gideon and Deche also. Yeah, I have to
Rajiv has
shifted. It's a very enjoyable movement with the guys like Deche, Gideon and KL and Ankit, Vijayendra and Partha also. For me actually, I'm also enjoying and I'm also learning the way they are interpreting things in the field also. Grooming and be with the DS, our apprentices, and be with the students, it's a very different experience for me this year. Whatever we have discussed also in first hour also, it's a process of enriching the knowledge both ways also. For me also, I am enjoying, I am enriching my knowledge with them also.
Hi, I'm Devika. I apologize that I didn't inform the organizers before coming to the workshop. I work with Center for Early Childhood Education and Development in AUD. I'm a student of literature and education.
Tell us one line about your center, a little bit, because everybody may not know.
Yeah, it works on issues and concerns around children from 0 and 8. It does not exact studies.
This university has also, other than schools, which actually conduct teaching programs, it also has centers. The Center for Early Childhood Education and Development was the first center which we established. So centers are meant to do project research, for advocacy work, and policy research, and things like that. So they have, CECD has been a good role model for all centers because they have the amount of projects that they undertake, and they are considered to be one of the major think tanks in the area of early childhood education development. Most of the Government of India committees have representation from them. They consult them. It's a very highly regarded institution, and I don't think AUD should take the credit for that because the person who established that person, Vidita Kaur, had already been a known person in the field, and all that we did was to provide a platform for that.
I am Ajay Samal. I done my master's in civil engineering and specialized in hydraulics and irrigation.
And after that, also I have done an MA for distance education.
Psychology.
Psychology, which I scored very less mark, but I enjoyed appearing the exam and passing it. And earlier I have worked in Jharkhand and Odisha, working in community managed irrigation systems, watersheds, community self-help groups, and also leading the teams. Presently, I am with the HR unit of Pradan with Nivedita, Smita, Vatsa, and Parija. With this MPhil development practice, I think I am spending many days for this. Whether it's communicating and discussing about the field emulsions with the teams, organizing the course emulsions, and anything that is happening, I am little bit part of that, and Nivedita and myself, we are conducting this, is not conducting, rather we are evolving this course on reflective practice. So that's an important area. We are in every class we are discovering something. So, and also I am one important area is I am very much aware about the struggles that is we are going through, the students are going through, and the faculty are going through. Even this in the last course immersion, we did a learning style inventory. David calls, and it is clearly distinguished between Pradan people and the students. Pradan apprentices, we do the same exercise with the Pradan apprentices, and we did this for the students. The profile is entirely different, and most of the Pradan apprentices are towards more executor, where executors and convergers, whereas the students are more towards almost everybody is assimilator and divergers. So that's where even the orientation, the students' orientation is different from the apprentices. So that struggle we are going through. So it's a good thing for us. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Anshulta. I'm gate crashing and I do not teach any course in MPhil development practice.
We'll have to soon.
My training has been in psychology, and I'm here because while I was still getting used to one kind of epistemology, SHS happened, and I'm trying to accept. I'm trying to come to some degree of comfort with feeling epistemologically free. So, and which is not a good position sometimes when you have to take classes. So I thought I could get to listen and learn.
I'm sure very happy today to sit next to Anshulta, because I think my mind is a very labile mind. It's not in my control. I don't know where it's like a monkey mind. So in the past, I have a training in psychoanalysis which hopefully teaches you by the time you die some structure. But I felt that the baggage is how to smile while express yourself. So recently I am learning that there is something that one should learn to engage with, which is people who smile. And this workshop seems to have a lot of people
who smile.
So it will be my regret that I will be going early, because my Sundays are usually caught up in my clinical work. So I didn't know the detailed program, otherwise I would have liked to learn for myself this thing, but I wish we could, I don't know.
You cancel.
You can
smile.
You cancel sessions with a smile.
Yeah, I could, if I could, yeah. Chal.
I am Masood Ahmad. I have done Master of Social Work from Medical University. I started my I started my career with Pradhan in 2006 with new team.
Can you come again, please?
Masters of Social Work से शुरू करो.
I started my career with Pradhan with a very new team Humphrey Chhattisgarh. Now there is more than 400 SLC and we are working with 6,000 families in that area, 90 villages. Chitij, Janisa and Pravinder, 3 students are on the
I'm Parija. I joined Pradhan in 2004 after completing my engineering in electronics. Since then, I'm here in Pradhan. I would say after 2004, it's a wholly different world and that I've been exposed. After joining Pradhan, there's a new life I'm living now. And I joined in Hazaribagh as a apprentice. I completed my apprentice and worked there till 2009. Did women there and specifically on some non-farm sectors like steel and poultry and renewables. After 2009, I came here and I'm now working in the Pradhan. And I am also a member of CDP, non-functional member I would say.
The functional member for non-functional CDP.
Via some...
No, it's a joke. It's a fun.
Parijat also integrates apprenticeship across Pradhan.
Yeah, that's why it's very important for me to be part of this philosophically and conceptually apprenticeship, and this program is basically same to my mind. So it's important for me to be involved and understand things and work with it.
I'm Rajesh. I have been working with this program since January. I did my master's and MPhil also in social work, but I moved to sociology for my PhD. And I know that's a rare moment. People are
उल्टा होता है.
But I haven't finished my PhD. I'm teaching 2 courses. For first year students, I'm taking understanding the rural people, and for the 3rd semester, it's intervention, inclusiveness, and collective action.
I'm Shyam. Taking cue from what Ashok was saying, I would like to say this that there's a saying that humans are the only species which actually has the privilege of dying before they are fully mature. So,
Are you sure about that?
so in the sense, what I'm saying is that as a species, it's a lifelong process. So one is, I'm basically a student of physics and moved on to education and cognitive psychology and so on, science education. So these were my interests. And then at some point, I was interested in social learning. So one understood that learning is not an individual process; it's a collective process. It happens in a social context. So that's how community, working with communities, all these have been a lot of interest to me. I was back in my department when I was in Delhi University, when I belonged originally. We had a period of time when we experimented greatly with social learning. Because Anil Gopal was my colleague and leader in this particular thing, so some of us participated in that. So this has been of interest to me for a long time. How learning happens in a group situation, in an actual context. Learning is a collective category. It's not an individual. You can't really learn on your own. There has to be an ecosystem in which that learning has to happening. So this is of interest to me. So I certainly I have a vested interest in being part of this entire thing, because I'm planning for beyond the time I'm going to be with the AUD. I eventually think I'll join Pradhan and work with them on social learning. So that's, I'm basically trying for that.
That job option.
Maybe they'll select you or reject you.
That's okay. That's okay. That means I can volunteer myself.
I'm Hani. I have a training in clinical psychology and psychoanalysis, which I am yet to complete. And I work at the School of Human Studies. And for a long time, I was thinking about connections between depth psychology, introspective currents, reflection, poverty, marginalization, politics. So many different kind of things as coming together. And I tried to create a kind of a synthesis with this from my movement from clinical psychology to psychoanalysis, where also then I found certain things incomplete. So I'm always in between spaces, I think, rather than feeling that I can be in just one space per se. So I also remember 2009 when I first went to the Pradhan office. It was not just that deep thought that something will work out. I also thought that something for the university as well as for me as an individual would work out, because I wanted to find some sense of meaning in context of extreme poverty. And in fact, it was Ashish who had first introduced me to this idea that my father works in a space like this sometime in 2007 in Indian University. So I teach two courses in the development practice program. One is experiencing the self and the other is listening, learning and communicating. But I must say this, that while I feel very privileged to be part of this program, I don't feel that I have been able to do as much as I would have liked to, be part of it, because of contending role responsibilities and other things. Perhaps, maybe at a different time I could come in more. I mean, I don't feel so complete in only doing the theory class and not being part of the field, in an authentic kind of a manner. So that's a movement that I await for myself.
Hello everybody, I'm Rukmini, trained in sociology. At the MPhil Development Practice Program, I've been teaching a course on qualitative research methods last year also and this year also. And to be honest, it has been quite a challenge to do qualitative research methodology for development practice. Because what is it that you go back to in terms of looking out for knowledge is something which I guess I'm learning by the day. So maybe the training in sociology and anthropology naturally leads me back to ethnography, and yet I realize that that is not exactly what a development practitioner may be doing. But there are certain similarities, and I guess that is what one would try to point out, that what are the commonalities that you can take from ethnography when you are into the field. So yes, it is a huge process of learning to be part of this endeavor.
I'm Anu. We are in the, let me share the CDP part over here. We are, the university has set up.
We can finish the introduction part and then come to the CDP.
First to introduce yourself.
Because Deepthi is there, and on Imran and Gurpreet, we are not really listened to the backgrounds part.
Okay. So I'm Anup. I'm at the School of Human Studies, and in the process of setting up the MPhil program in development practice and the Center for Development Practice.
No, but Anup has an interest, I believe, in social transformation.
I'll come to that in the.
That's not your
Say it
interest.
now,
Say it now.
Say it now.
You are represented right now.
Yeah, we are on the clear.
Own it.
He's too shy.
No, I
That's, I told you, no, humans are the only species who's made to lie before.
I studied medicine as my initial discipline. That is what students in the 1980s were supposed to do, either study medicine or engineering, one of the two streams which were considered respectable. And male students, Rukmini is saying, and she's right actually. Then I got, if I may put it this way, embroiled or involved in student politics in my medical college. That of course put in question much of medicine because, and I will come to that when I discuss action research, that we did not want to do a kind of medicine that was private hospital based. So my Monday to Fridays I would take a local train without ticket and travel to Asansol, between Burdwan and Asansol, between actually Chandanagar, Burdwan and Asansol, the Bengalis will get, which is the jute belt, and work in jute mill workers' colonies, trying to organize workers and youth. So I have actually shared this with Pradhanites that my life was determined by two rivers. One, the Ganges, which had the jute mills, and the dying jute mills actually, one after the other. Slowly polyester came and jute made its way for polyester, and the mills slowly, like the Bombay cotton mills, they died slowly. Our working class movement also slowly died. We had difficulties. The youth, the children of the workers continue. We still have that organization and we still work. I visit when I go to Calcutta. And Saturdays and Sundays as doctors. So Monday to Friday was a Marxist. Saturday, Sunday was, those were our visions at that time, that we have to be like barefoot doctors. So Saturday and Sunday we would take the train, the Ganodevata Express, and reach Mayurakshi, the bank of Mayurakshi river in mid-Bengal. Which is why I am saying two rivers, Ganges and Mayurakshi. And there Red Cross had an hospital which was abandoned after 1971 war, Bangladesh Liberation War. Mayurakshi, yeah. And there we started a public health initiative. And we ran it for 3 years, 9 months exactly. But by that time things had become very difficult over there between Adit Chaudhary, who is the Congress MP and the railway minister now I think, and the CPIM. It was war between the two of them. And we found ourselves sandwiched between the two wars and had to exit after a point because there could have been violence on us because of that. Because they were trying to find out which side we were in over there. So, and I think, and I'll really touch upon that, why both projects failed. So, I returned a failure, a complete failure. The Soviet had come down, East Europe was no more, Marxism was dead, the public health initiative was gone, and somehow one had to re-find or reinvent oneself. And one thing I think is what I saw in Pradhan actually, and then I felt, when I went back again to Bakura, Birbhum, the Pradhan space, they have managed to do it, what we could not do as a public health initiative, because perhaps, as Dipankar was brought up, rightly pointing out that we lacked the professionalization of the work. We had all the, idealism, to do things, but we did not have the wherewithal to do things and did not know how to manage violence. I think today I would do a much better job of what we did over there. So in that sense, Pradhan is interesting for me, which is why I felt, we should work with them and see how we can do it. I'll come to that later, but the political perspective also is something I would want to bring back, but this is how I am in development practice. Deepthi.
I'm sleepy. I'm Deepthi and I'm sorry for joining you all so late. I just finished with my classes. So
Oh, we know, we told you.
I have my own training has been in clinical psychology and psychoanalysis, and then later in anthropology. And in between sort of these academic pursuits for several years, I was involved with some friends of mine in some projects around non-formal education of these young boys and girls who had come, whose families and parents had come from villages in Garhwal and other places, and had settled down in Delhi and were working as drivers and cooks. And so for many of these young boys and girls, they were first generation school goers, often who did not know, while in school they were in class 10th or 12th, they could not do even basic arithmetic, and so I was involved in an informal kind of level with these students, and that's when I met Professor Anil Gupta of IIM Ahmedabad, whose work I got interested and exposed to some of the interesting grassroots level innovations that were happening in rural areas. And another friend who had passed out, I think, many years back from IIT Delhi, who was an engineer who was setting up small microhydel power projects in villages in Garhwal elsewhere. So I had made one visit to one such village, and so what he would repeatedly tell us was that he was trying to mobilize the villagers to come together to set up this small power project, and which did not involve a lot of economic investment, and that they could not count on the state any longer to bring electricity in. But for some reason, and while he had been doing this project in different places around India, and some places it had worked, but he could not understand how difficult it was to mobilize the villagers to come together. So they would be required to contribute some labor to it, but he could not understand that was something that he wanted to bring to the village and that would be beneficial to all. There were so many difficulties and challenges that were involved. So I've had sort of, I don't know about the others. I have had a passing kind of encounter with the rural, and right now I'm in the MPhil program. I teach with Imran on the paper called Politics, Resistance, Transformation, where we are trying to understand if it is possible to look at resistance from the way in which it is understood in psychoanalysis and the way in which we understand it in a social vocabulary. So when we talk about social movements, then resistance is something that has to be strengthened. And when we talk about it from a psychoanalytic point of view, it is something that has to be overcome. So, what we are trying to ask is that even when we are looking at the discourse of development that is being taken to these villages, what is it that needs to be transformed, and what is it by way of cultural identity that needs to be preserved? So is the rural to be taken in the direction of the urban or in the direction of the village? Both of which I am. So, that's it.
my baggage. I don't know. I have a graduation in history, a master's in international relations, and an MPhil PhD in public policy research and law and governance. So I don't know which baggage is.
JNU is also a baggage.
That means if we're looking at that way, then I have Stevens as a baggage, JNU as a baggage, and I am from Hazaribagh, where most of these students are working. And I'm from rural Hazaribagh. Parkagaon is my village, I'm sure. And my maternal place is Palamu, where Naxalism is supposed to have its genesis, so to speak. So I've seen these stories that people tell now. I have seen it in day-to-day basis. So I know of the zamindar there who was called Mawar and how he lived and all that. So I was always interested in doing something vis-a-vis this Naxal conflict and the manner in which it plays out, and is that entire development deficit argument vis-a-vis Naxalism actually justified, or is it doing something more than what is being said about it in politics? So I even went to School of Disarmament and Diplomacy in International Relations and told them I want to work on Naxalism. And they were like, how do you fit it into international relations? And I was like, that is I have to figure out. So where I can fit it is something that I have to figure out. And then slowly when I went to law and governance, I was told that there are various dimensions and ways in which you can look at it. There are various interpretations with which people have looked at it. But at the end of the day, the manner in which I looked at it was most social conflicts happen around one government policy or the other. In the manner in which the state sees the problem and tries to work upon it, and the manner in which the society sees the problem. That is not necessarily the same. They are very different at times. In my own fieldwork on Naxalism, I was doing this fieldwork basically for a project called CODE, which looks at cultures of governance in conflict area and conflict governance as such, and the role that culture plays in these things. And when we went back and looked at how development practices are being implemented, the entire argument went on its head. The entire argument about development deficit being a factor in leading to Naxalism was actually the other way around. It was the pumping of extra developmental funds that was leading to an entire shadow economy of levies and corruption and bribe, and that is why everybody, from the Naxals till the government officials to the elite people and local influential ones, everybody said it is development, and because of development there is enough fund coming in, and it's sustaining an entire enterprise. So I was like, okay, and then I came for an interview at AUD, and they said, you need to look at the resistance within the person, and I was like, huh? Come again? What's that? What are you talking about? And then I was like, then both all of them were there, and they were like, this is the dimension. I was like, see, I'm looking at the communicative rationality of violence. I do look at it, how it operates without being used, how its threat is more relevant than its actual use in terms of its operationalization. But within the self, sorry, I don't know. So from there, not knowing anything, to coming and teaching these two courses on deploying development and politics, resistance and change, and then politics that needs resistance that needs to be strengthened on a collective level, on a social movement, social mobilizational level, and resistance as people is telling me has to be transformed or overcome within yourself is something that I'm learning. So the psychological side is something that still goes over my head. I don't follow it very well, but it's a new take on it. It's a new way of looking at it. It's very exciting, and that's what. And most of these things that I'm teaching are very related to the work that I do for my own PhD. So it's even more interesting to get a new side on the 4th year of my PhD, which is not exactly good, but yeah, that's where I come from.
So my bachelor's has been in psychology, and for my master's, I came to AUD and did bits of psychology, sociology, psychoanalysis, gender, and then came back to AUD again to sort of, work I somehow sort of relate with the students who are a part of this program, and Shamima always tells me, don't say this, always that you are more in align with the student. You have to be more of the worker self also. But I try to sort of again, try to dwindle in both ways, because in some ways when I was a student at AUD and we were the first batch, and again it was, we were experimenting with a lot of things with the university, with the course, with the program. And here I'm back with another experiment, another discovery that we are trying to find here. And that's why I sort of, love engaging with the students. So just not organizing events, but also trying to engage with students I'm now also trying to enter and engage with the field. And that's why me and Shamini also, my visits to Dindori, to Kesla, where we're sort of trying to engage with women leaders in SCGs and understand what is the process of change or the process of transformation. So a journey for me in both ways. I mean, I'm sort of learning and exploring and getting lost.
Yeah, I think that's the part. We'll go on for maybe half an hour.
Rajesh, will go ahead. See, actually, our plan was to enter the discussion on action research in the morning part, but maybe we can go on for 30 more minutes and move to the lunch break. If we are not too tired, all of us. This is the part where we would bring back some focus on, as Professor Menon rightly put it that day, I think the metaphor of the Russian doll, that there is, we want social transformation, we want transformative social action, we want social transformation, we want our villages to change, want them to be habitable. Say for example, broadly, if we put it this way. Within that, we have the sense of the next doll, which is that we need sector specialists or professionals to do this. So that's the doll within. That's the MPhil Development Practice Program. And within the MPhil Development Practice Program, we have a component called action research. This is not my idea, this is his idea. I'm reiterating on it. So we have to get the big picture right. What is the social transformational vision within which put the MPhil program as contributing to that vision, and the action research as contributing to the MPhil DevPrac students' social transformative vision. So you have to get the 3 steps right, and CDP would be somewhere by the side. It's a parallel track kind of, contributing maybe to all 3. Why only MPhil development programs? The Center for Development Practice, like Center for Education, could contribute to all 3 in a certain way. That's how we have thought, and that I take from it.
In the sense, our loyalty is not towards the MPhil.
Yes. No.
Our loyalty is towards the social transformation and transformative social action,
yes,
which we presume would lead to social transformation.
Yes.
And creation of a professional group for that purpose becomes an instrument for that, and MPhil becomes an instrument for that. So, why I'm saying this is that in our other schools, we are finding it very difficult. Once you start with the program, then people's loyalty is towards the program. It's very difficult for them to
become program specific.
If I may use a metaphor from a factory model, if you fall in love with assembly line, then you have a hardware problem, because you need to really be, your fidelity is towards the objective, not to the assembly line. Assembly line is put together so that the objectives are realized. So that's all that means.
So this is the context in which we would like to put, and it came from our collective discussion that day. And as Rajesh, because I think he was the first one to conceptualize the need for this, and had pushed us, actually including me, he Anup, we need to do this. We need to have a discussion on action research. It's not clear. It's not clear to us at least. Perhaps it's not so clear in the field also, and it's not very clear to the students also. And he has been pushing actually for a couple of months actually that we really need to do this. And the question he asked and wanted me to respond to it, I thought let me put the question in this manner. That why I was asking the question this way, why should a student be in development practice? Why should a student do development practice as an MPhil, do action research and then engage in transformative social action? And I wanted to ask myself, which is why I did not want to introduce myself so much, that I wanted to ask myself, why am I in development practice? While I try to find out what they are in for, what they would do, let me actually first ask myself, why am I as a teacher who wants to be with them, be partially inspirational perhaps also. Why am I in development practice? I had a more or less formal and secure appointment in psychology, Hani and Professor Nagpal. Why did I get into it at all? So this is how I thought, let me approach the action research question. I think I had two problems, and I will not be, defensive about the two issues. One is my problems with the political, and which is why I started with that Monday to Friday, that morning trip. I never attended classes, so every day I was there. The problem of the political, and this I am putting in the cluster of social transformation, the transformative social action. How will social transformation happen? Once upon a time we thought that the political will take care of this. So we'll have a big revolution, a political transformation. And once the political transformation will happen, Soviet, China, Vietnam, or Cuba being good examples, once the political transformation happens, the political transformation somewhat by default will take care of the social transformation. So
and psychology.
And yes, okay, he said it. I've actually written it down fully. So I wrote, the assumption was that the social will follow, the self, however, was never in the horizon. Okay, so this is one notion of transformation we had. And in this framework, and because I was deeply inside it, reading was looked down upon. ज़्यादा पढ़ना नहीं चाहिए. ज़्यादा पढ़ोगे तो academic बन जाओगे. You will become an academic Marxist. You have to also do the work, dirty your hands all the time, which was not wrong actually. It was right. But what it led to a bizarre denigration of reading, reflection, and all of that. And I remember in my political days, I resisted this. I read Marx. And because I was a doctor, the Communist Party always thought I had to work as a health activist in jute worker colonies and not read dialectical materialism. And I always said, Baba, why would the Presidency College student who is from political science or sociology study Marx and I will do a service delivery? So I thought, no, I have to read it quite well. And I found very soon that to work as a political activist in South Bengal and in the Gangetic Plain, what I knew from monthly review and new left review were not enough. Both were extremely deficient. I needed to move beyond, and we needed to find something more. What is the more we can come? The second, and this is very important I think for us to, and I know Saroj has already said that why will I listen to people, but somewhere listening also helps us put things in context. So it helped me listen to Deep, and I'll actually relate to what he said, much of what I'm going to say today. what I realized after a point was that while we had foregrounded political transformation as conduit to the social, social transformative actors were active at least in India much before 1921. 1920s, 1919, when the Communist Party is formed in India. Uday Mukherjee and all. And social transformation was conceptualized within modernity. I'm not going to pre-modern and all. By many, many actors. The reformists, 19th century social reformists, from which feminism takes off. The religious, spiritual reformists, including Ramakrishna Mission and I think the most important organization, the RSS. The Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, which did not participate in political activity directly, but wanted the social to be the scheme for the political. The political will follow. The social will be the condition of the political. It's a reverse formulation. And very recently, I read a 1916 piece by Rabindranath Tagore, sorry for the repetition. A 1916 piece by Rabindranath Tagore, delivered in Tokyo, Japan. Exactly the same year, Lenin wrote Imperialism, Highest Stage of Capitalism, 1916 in Germany. Tagore also speaks on imperialism. It's a published piece on imperialism. He is not talking of European imperialism. He is talking of Japanese imperialism. Imperialism within us. And in this he says, and it's a very problematic statement, I don't see the political as a solution for India. I see the social as a solution for India. So what he was actually pushing for is a social transformative agenda that would take care of the political subsequent. So he's actually reversing the frame. He's saying, and that's the piece actually we read together with our students in the MPhil DevPrac program, first semester students, a piece by him on Sriniketan, when actually, and this is the point I want to mark, we all know Tagore by Shantiniketan, but he abandons the Shantiniketan after a point and moves to form a new institution called the Sriniketan, which is a program of rural transformation. It is a program of rural reconstruction. He titles his piece Rural Reconstruction over here and says rural social reconstruction will be the condition for political reconstruction called independence. So Gandhi should follow my rural reconstruction route and move towards political liberation. So these two, and in that sense I felt social transformative agenda of Pradhan is in that connection. NGOs actually come much later. They're a very, very recent phenomenon, I would risk to say this, in the agenda of social transformation in India at least. It has been there for a long, long time. Including, if you may remember, we had it in the disability workshop that day, blind schools. Well before disability becomes a fashion, we have had traditions of running schools for the blind in India, which were social, compassionate, benevolent formations that wanted to do something for people. So in that sense, I don't want to put it this way. In some formulation, the social follows the political with classic Marxist formulation, and in some formulation, the social precedes the political. And I was undecided on this, which way to go. And you see now the two rivers, Ganges and Mayurakshi. Okay, in one I was trying to do political transformation and thinking the social would follow, but the social was not following. The male workers were still beating up their wives, who were also workers. So social transformation was not happening. And my public health initiative, which was a social transformative agenda, but it was lack of political transformation that made us exit the space. So somewhere I was looking for a dual frame. The third is transformation of the self. Transformation of the self has been the agenda of psychoanalysis, singularly, and spiritual traditions. Both have worked on the transformation of the self. There may be others. For lack of time, I am going very quickly. Okay, but transformation of the self did not figure in a foregrounded way in political transformation, or in state policy formulations, or in development regimes, which is why Imran's anxiety is something we should hold. And Dipankar, as he put it, that I found SHS the housing for development.
But my only feeling is that if we look deep enough into our own Indian experience, and Bengal definitely, and also beyond Bengal. I mean, I have two instances I can tell you. One is E.V. Ramaswamy Naikar and also Narayana Guru. I think both these people have talked about spiritual and self
as a condition
for
yes,
social and political.
Very. Which is why I said spiritual tradition for women, largely. But these are two very good examples over here. Where
Ramaswamy Naikar was an agnostic and a rational. Narayana Guru was a religious man. But both of them said, in some sense, self and transformation of self. Swayam Maryada, for instance, what Ramaswamy Naikar used, the self-respect movement. And self-respect was about individuals as well as for collective.
Yes, very much. These are two good examples of that. Aurobindo being another example much later when he moves to the
pre-1920. All
pre-1920. So, which is why I was in development practice was this. My thinking, and all of you may not agree with me, please, which is why I said differences are most welcome over here, that some social transformative agenda within which I am placing MPhil Dev Prac and action research is a dialogue between political transformation, which I cannot give up, because new social movements are a part of rural realities. It's not only social transformation that is part of rural reality. And Sharbani, who is not here, has engaged very well, I thought, in Hazaribagh with new social movements, including parts of Maoism, including caste battles, which are not battles, including gender battles, which are new social movements in rural locations, not essentially what has now become the dominant framework NGO, and this is not said negatively, please, NGO-based social transformation. So we need to connect perhaps that larger transformative agenda needs to be a dialogue between political transformation, social transformation and self-transformation, and within which I am placing MPhil and action research. This is one.
I just want to add
please come in. Anybody can come in.
This category called NGO, I think it's an artifact of a vocabulary which we are familiar with.
Yeah.
But actually, in a way, Shantiniketan was an NGO.
Yes.
I think we should look at it also that way. Basically means that a non-state actors taking initiatives.
And he was collecting funds from all over the world for Shantiniketan and Sriniketan. It was Amherst money which started Sriniketan. Actually, he could have started it. So in that sense, that this is a new. So my only point is that social transformation is an old agenda. Political transformation, bizarrely, is a new agenda. Self-transformation could be a very, very old agenda, including Buddhist work on the self, tantric traditions, etc., etc.
But this also was about social transformation.
Also about social transformation, setting up the mathas and all of that.
Also
Also, yeah. So, honey, how would we imagine the political is the question there. Okay, is the modern political the only political also? So, but I'm not going to try to clinch these debates in any one direction. The only point I'm trying to make out of this is that big basket transformation, transformative social action has a number of actors, and we need to be in dialogue with all these actors, which is why we teach Marx in the MPhil Dev Prac course unabashedly. We are not ashamed. We see it as important as the student having a perspective to political transformation, just like we teach psychoanalysis. So in that sense, political transformation, social transformation and self-transformation being 3 points over here. 1. 2, and this I am saying with a little bit of trepidation, but let me say it. My problems with this category called the professional. I myself was a medical professional, and we rarely had doctors, Dipankar, of the one you would quote. Many a times I have done this.
Barely had the
Doctors of the kind Dipankar Das spoke of, the one man who said angiography nahi lage. Many a times I have done this in my life when I said, don't do anything anymore. Why are you doing it? Okay. Accept the fundamental vulnerability of human life called death. Okay. So in that sense, my experiences of the medical profession, engineering also, is that profession is a problematic thing. Professions can be very secure, very confident, dominant, very smug, very violent, and can perpetuate mistakes for many, many years. Which is why I am scared of professional bodies. The Indian Psychiatric Society being a professional body, the Indian Medical Association being a professional body, and they are all very, very dangerous bodies. I am saying this with a lot of responsibility why they are dangerous. A recent study came, Hani and Rick and Vinod and Anshu, which showed olanzapine and risperidone cannot be distinguished in terms of efficacy. But whole of India psychiatrists had moved from risperidone to olanzapine because global capital wanted them to move from risperidone to olanzapine. And recently, he's from Vellore Medical College, the head of the department, he presented a paper telling fellow psychiatrists, come on, wake up, this is not how you should practice as a profession. So as a medical professional, and this is one part I need to highlight over here, I'm deeply skeptical of the term profession. Okay. And I left medicine because I did not want to be a professional who did not know history of medicine, philosophy of medicine, sociology of medicine, and the political economy of medicine. How medicine is tied with capital, how medicine has a history, how there is need for a philosophy of medicine, philosophy of knowledge. I'm not saying epistemology, I don't want to use difficult terms, but it has already been invoked in this room. So, in that sense, where is the knowledge coming from? Why do I take the knowledge as sacrosanct? What is right in this knowledge? We have repeatedly shifted medical knowledge as professional knowledge in the last 100 years, and every time we have been wrong. Every decade, we have come up with a new understanding of schizophrenia, and after 10 years, we again shift it and say, oh no, it was wrong. This is the new one and this is the right one. So every time the knowledge of the current in the profession functions as the knowledge.
That's the last profit.
That is the last profit.
Every time.
Yes. So in that sense, I am urging all of us to really push the limits of the professional as well, just like we want to push the limits of the transformation. Merging into professional bodies may not always be a quick fix solution. So in that sense, I am problematizing professionals. And what is most important, and this is a very, very big step by Pradhan, I approached Manipal University when I was in Bangalore. Give us an opportunity to teach a course on history, philosophy and sociology of medicine to doctors. उनको पढ़ाएंगे कि ये जो तुम कर रहे हो इसका पीछे वाला antecedents क्या है? And Manipal University said no, you can't do that. Doctors are doctors. Pradhan has taken a very big step to bring development practice, development apprenticeship professionals to the university. If you bring profession to a university, something happens, something changes in the profession. Just like if you take the university to a profession or to the field, something happens to the university, something is going to happen to us, it's happening perhaps. One very good example of interfacing between profession and university is JNU MPhil in social medicine. Which is why, and this is my personal position, absolutely personal, okay, and none of you need to agree with me. I always thought, and I still think, that development practice should not be an MA, it should be an MPhil. We can have an MA in development apprenticeship, but the development practice thing should be an MPhil because it requires critical reflection on both profession and transformation. So it has to be a higher degree, which is self-critical, like the JNU MPhil in social medicine, where you train students and think of the SRTT head of health now. He's a social medicine guy, Dr. Vikram Gupta. He's a doctor, but then he's social medicine in JNU, and then joined SRTT to run the health portfolio of SRTT. He was actually my friend, my classmate, long friendship actually, two of us have shared. So in that sense, I would really wonder about profession in action research in MPhil development practice program. Quickly put, I've come to the end of it. Now I have just a few points to make. One, transformation, political, social self, the marginalization of the self in transformation. Profession, the marginalization of reflection in profession, critical reflection in profession, not reflexivity. I may have a good doctor, that doesn't solve my problem. Because how many good doctors will I have? Only one doctor Matthew. Okay. But I need to create a formal framework for professions where I will not have to rely on the Good Samaritan who would sometime come along. Okay. That is leaving it to chance, too much chance when I will have a good doctor. We need to formalize a process not of reflexivity only, but of critical reflection. And I'm marking a distinct difference between reflexivity and critical reflection. Critical reflection is history of medicine, philosophy of medicine, sociology of medicine, economics of medicine. ये दवा जो हम देते हैं वो कहाँ से आ रहे हैं? किसका खबर है वो? Okay. So in that sense, reflexive doctors we have a few in our country. Okay. But critically reflective doctors reflecting on their own discipline, putting it to crisis, which happened to me actually. That after I read all that, I felt I can't do this medicine anymore. I have to do something different. Which happened to Honey perhaps. After she went through critical reflection in psychology and psychoanalysis, she felt I have to take the community turn. Which happened to you, Professor Menon. Critical reflection of education took you to social learning perhaps. That learning is not the individual Humboldtian learning I'm talking of. So in that sense, not reflexivity only. Reflexivity is necessary, but critical reflection. In that sense, this takes me to a problem that we cannot avoid in DEFRAC. The problem of knowledge. Because critical reflection is a problem of knowledge, not just a problem of goodness. So, somewhere we need to take knowledge as itself a problem. The problem of taking knowledge as given, as if the problem is only with action. As if I can teach the same medical curriculum or engineering curriculum and have a reflexive engineer or doctor. No, perhaps. You will have occasional good Samaritans, Saroj and Ajay and Archer. Okay. There are occasional good Samaritans, but there is no system in place that will produce such a thing. And MPhil DEFRAC was an attempt to put a system in place. Otherwise, we already had occasional good Samaritans from different fields who went to the field and worked, and you would always say 16 years, 18 years, and I bow before all of you. Okay. But here the attempt was to produce a system, a professional system that will have 25 every year perhaps, or 20 every year perhaps, not rely on some chance factor, goodness, where the goodness would get sparked off. So in that sense, somewhere we have to put in place a knowledge process, a process of reflection, not just reflexivity. This takes me, so I'm only trying to say the problem is not of action. Having ethical action is not the only problem. There's a problem of knowledge as well. Which is why, honey, we teach the MA program. Otherwise, why teach an MA in psychology? Okay. So, in that sense, however, there is a general denigration of reflective knowledge in higher education. Much of higher education is passive knowledge obtaining and skill perpetuation. So you do what you know. Simply, it goes on like that.
Here I just wanted to say something. It's also something to do with the peripheral nature of our knowledge generation, knowledge dissemination locations. I mean, we have almost conceded defeat even before the game has begun. So we have already located ourselves mentally, psychologically, that we are peripherally located in this whole enterprise of global enterprise of knowledge generation, and therefore it becomes given knowledge more or less. It's not something which we generate. We don't assume that there is a certain authenticity which emanates out of your acting locally, because after all, this whole reducibility to everything to a central knowledge structure, that model itself seems to be, I think, problematic. I think we need to really have a different kind of model, maybe a rhizomic kind of a model of laterally spreading that.
So Usman, that's well put in that sense, which is why I wanted to foreground this point that the problem is not only of action, the problem is of knowledge, the kind of knowledge, and we need not be only consumers of knowledge. Professionalization sometimes make us consumers of knowledge. We don't remain producers of knowledge. And again, I'm saying this as only my personal view. I see the dissertation in MPhil DevPrac not just as reflection, but as some production of knowledge which I am taking from deep. Deep ended with knowledge, or throughout foregrounded knowledge, and I was inside getting happier and happier, getting inspired more and more. Okay, and I'll come to that at the end. The last point, academics, and Gurpreet loved it. When in one of my mails to the students, I said, we have for a long time researched on. How would it be to research with? So action research is also a different beast actually when we do it in the DevPrac model with the community, as we were discussing in class that day. It is not researching on only, writing on people's miseries, but researching with perhaps. So we can develop this in the discussion in the afternoon. The second point I would like to mark over here is that I had understood, and some of you may differ with me over here, it's my personal understanding. I had distinguished the three immersions in a particular way. And I'm seeing it slipping now. And it is Deep who has brought us back over there, I think. And I feel sometimes we respect Deep, but we don't listen to him. We respect him, Deep, but we don't listen to him. And I'm urging...
Happened only in Pradhan.
No, here. Because today, I managed to listen a little to you. Okay. When you invoked knowledge at the end. I had seen the first immersion. There are three immersions, if some of you are not fully aware of it. There are three immersions in the DevPrac program. First immersion, 2 months, which is a village stay and a village study. I had seen, and I'm not forcing it upon the group over here, please. I had seen the first immersion as setting up the relationship between self and community. As working at the cusp of self and community. My first 1 month in a village, what is happening to myself and what is the community I'm in, putting the fish in water. The second immersion I thought was on self-community action. The action, I presume, had already happened in the second immersion when we had formed the self-help group, which is why some of you will remember I fought very hard with the students, that mail, with students. I think we should share that mail with everybody now. The mail I wrote to students, and there was huge rebellion. Okay. Why in the second immersion, honey, you remember, would we have to form a self-help group? Okay. They said, no, I'll do action research. Why will I form a self-help group? And I fought very hard with them. They hated me for that. Okay. And it was an idea generated primarily with Dipankar's anchorship in the field faculty workshop we did in the SHS room, and where we decided कि नहीं, 2 community initiatives होना पड़ेगा in the second immersion, दो self-help group बनाना पड़ेगा, students at least created one self-help. So I thought the second immersion में action had happened. Second immersion was about self-community action. The first action had happened. And I thought the third immersion was about self-community action. And here I am relying on the knowledge. We were really thankful we heard you today over there. And you reiterated it, that the third immersion cannot be again of action. The third immersion is on knowledge. Self-community action has happened. Now we will generate some knowledge. Of course, action will keep happening. Action will not stop. Okay. But the third immersion's focus is on knowledge on what? Not a conventional MPhil development studies research. It is not knowledge on rural poverty, but knowledge on the action. And we are not trained in this. Who are not trained in this? I think me. As a faculty, as a supervisor, I do not have much review of literature on transformation, on this one word called transformation, and a dissertation on transformation. It's like doing a dissertation on healing in psychotherapy. We have much knowledge on diagnosis, on pathology, on processes, on developmental processes, but is clinical research on healing? Is a question I'm taking. Just like that is development practice research, which is research, please. Let us not give up the term research. Okay. But it's a research, on want of a better term, something called transformation. And it could be from girl education to domestic violence to Narega. It doesn't matter. What is the empirical side? But at a higher level, at a meta level, we are looking at transformation. So it is not, so the dissertation is on researching action, as Professor Menon put it that day on Thursday to the students, or researching transformation. That you are actually researching action or transformation. It's not knowing and then doing, but it's knowing, doing, and then knowing the doing. So in that sense, if gender studies MPhil is on gender, DevPrac MPhil is on transformation or some kind of social action, transformative social action. The phrase Hani and I wanted, but gave up finally. This takes me to one more point. The difference between, and I owe it to Shamolima, she put it very starkly into my head that day when she marked a distinction between consensus and clarity. And I wondered, oh, what a beautiful distinction. We can all have consensus on one issue, and it can be a bad consensus. Just like professional medical bodies come to consensus from time to time, which are completely bad consensus. In the 1960s, I was not given breast milk. I was given bottled milk. Because in the 1960s, Lactogen and Glaxo funding powdered milk convinced the doctors, my father who was a doctor and a London returned doctor, so his education was in crisis already, he thought milk of the powdered kind was the best milk that his son should have had. And some of my pathologies may be coming from that little bit of childhood deprivation I have encountered in my life because of a well-trained doctor, a well-trained professional who eats with the fork and speaks English and trained in England. But his professional consensual wisdom, global wisdom was that bottled milk, powdered milk was better in nutritional capacity than breast milk. Then the Indian state in 1980s, voltaic phase goes round and all primary health centers have this mother's breast showing, the nipple not showing, but the baby's mouth there. We pasted all primary health centers with that and said breast milk is the best thing. That's the new consensus. So consensus, and I thank you Shamlima for that, can be bad consensus. So somewhere we need some reflection itself on consensus. So as a body, we may be making mistakes. Can we, as faculty groups, reflect on our own mistakes? And we can perpetuate Ptolemaic knowledge in all church universities for 1200 years and tell every student, shut up, this is the truth. Just like students may shut up communities, telling them this is the truth. So in that sense, I'm not too convinced by consensus anymore. We really need reflection, not just consensus. And Vinod was right when he invoked power and innocence. Consensus can be innocent. The knowledge element then, and I'm relying heavily on Deep over here, would need to come in somewhere in action research. What is it that I do not know? What is it that the community does not know? And learning to live with the anxiety of not knowing. Because knowingness is a problem. Only doingness is not a problem. We are either in the university, which is knowingness, or in a practitioner space, which is doingness. Which is why when Deep said, it's not about that water pump. It's not about the distance between two plants, which are all very necessary. But what is the knowledge of that we are looking at? The idea was that, and I think it is important, and Tagore puts it beautifully in this little paragraph over here. When our college students study economics and ethnology, they rely entirely on European scholarship to learn about their own villages. And in that sense, my idea was that we would produce or create new knowledge. New knowledge about ourselves, our villages, or what is now called ethics of the local or sociology of the local, fashionably, our country and rural India. And also knowledge about our people. So both things would come up over here. And in that sense, knowledge different from the ones we perpetuate in psychology, self-group, sociology, political science, or knowledge about change. And immersion, I think, is our strength. Because we did not do internship, we did not do fieldwork, and this we owe to Pradhan. We said immersion. And there's a distinct difference between internship, fieldwork, and immersion. Immersion also generates close range knowledge. It is like Bergman's film Persona, which had only, faces and just face profile pictures, or it was a very close range shot of the human persona, and it's not the whole body. When you are looking at the face, you are getting to see the wrinkles. It's not manicured by social knowledge, so it's not looking wrinkle free, and it's close range knowledge, maybe a new logic, as some of you were suggesting, right? A new epistemology. I'm calling it a new logic of knowledge and a new logic of doing, knowing about doing, and how that would happen. So in a sense, to me, our whole work is about transformation. MPhil Dev Prac is about transformation, and bizarrely action research is about transformation. It's researching transformation, and researching transformation in actual context when I'm trying to do it, rather than only writing on the theory of transformation. Where Pradhan and AUD would be co-creators of knowledge, and here I'm marking this sharp distinction, not just ethical action or transformation, but reflective transformation, critically reflective transformation and action. So we cannot only be good. Being good is not enough. And there the question becomes, the question Deep marked, why some groups function and some do not? Why it doesn't work? And in that sense, maybe, and I'm marking a distinction this way, I shared it with Nivedita and Professor Menon and some of you on Thursday. The distinction between writing on people's miseries, WRITING, we write on people's miseries, and righting people's miseries, R-I-G-H-T-I-N-G. We try to render it right. We right wrongs in rural community. Then what is action research? Is it writing on people's miseries? No. Is it only writing people's miseries? No. And this is the turn I'm trying to take. That it is not only action. It is not only writing people's miseries. That should have started in the second immersion. Okay. It is writing on writing miseries. You are writing, of course it's a dissertation, it's a 30,000 word dissertation, so let us not say it's not writing, it's of course writing, but you are writing on the writing of something, R-I-G-H-T-I-N-G, and where social change or social transformational processes are researched and not just taught. Transformation is what we are researching on. Build knowledge on and off transformation, social friction, hope, despair, etc. All of that. But you are writing on transformation. So why would we be accepted tomorrow as a discipline or a body of knowledge? Not if we have done action, because action was already being done. We will be accepted only if we can produce a body and a corpus of knowledge on action, on transformation itself. So in that sense, it's not easy, however, and I'll end with a problem we have faced over here. Development practice, and the students are also victims of it, and their action research projects are becoming victims of it, is an infant discipline. A toddler who hasn't learned to walk. It is not development studies, though it has elements of development studies, but I'm trying to mark the difference very sharply. It is not development studies, and as Ajay's research has shown now, it is not development apprenticeship. This is a new beast. This is a new phenomenon. We need to find, as you are saying, new epistemology, a new way of going about it, a new pedagogy perhaps. And the best pedagogy that has worked was the theatre workshop. It's not me and Hani teaching, who are perhaps the senior most, teaching from AUD side. It's not Nivedita and Ajay and Smita teaching, who are the senior most perhaps from the Pradhan side. It is the theatre workshop that worked best for students at case level. So it's very interesting what has worked as a pedagogic system over here, what really showed them the connection between theory and practice. So it's not development studies, it's not development apprenticeship, it's not only knowing, not only doing, not only writing, R-I-G-H-T-I-N-G, but writing on writing. And it is an infant discipline. The problem of this discipline is it is torn between two contradictory conditions. Sometimes it has too many parents. So sociology says, be like me. And all sociology students in the DevPrac program are looking for sociology supervisors. All economics students are looking for economic supervisors, and again I send that mail. I actually fight with the DevPrac students through mail. So I said, ye kya ho raha hai? You go back to disciplines now? Okay. So in that sense, they are all trying to go back to their parent discipline over here. So there are too many parents actually. So Nishant has gone back to Hani and Deepti for his action research. Okay. So in that sense, it has sometimes too many parents, and sometimes it is a contradictory situation. It has no parents. It is an orphan. It really doesn't have a parent and cannot hold itself. It's walking on its own, doesn't know, bhatakte rehte hain, somewhat becomes nomadic over there. And students are becoming interesting victims of this nomadism. So in that sense, it's not easy, and Professor Menon, how to go intermolecular is very, very difficult. But I am seeing action research, and I'm risking it, I know, I'm putting it on the table this way, and I want a debate on this, a difference of opinion on this also, that it is not just righting wrongs or writing poverty, writing. That was already happening, that all of you have done, and some of us have done in a failed manner. Okay. This MPhil program, in addition to development studies and development apprenticeship, will also be giving us a body of knowledge. 20 dissertations. next July on writing drawings, how they do it, and this could be, I thought, a framework of giving them some clarity on what is action research and if we can co-guide them in this way. However, again I'm saying this is only what I thought was action research, and our consensus may be of a different kind, and it need not be this one at all, please.
Thank you, Anu. Smile returns. I have two small observations. The most powerful moment in all of this was two rivers where you begin your narrative from. A lot of flow, but perhaps you couldn't connect with the flow as much as to remember it that there were two flows, and the breasts in the clinics when the turnaround happened. And for me, images are, as you know, very important because they allow you to participate in the consensus while remaining connected with the need for clarity. So they are the first right or wrong kind of a conduits for something that one can't have. These are the clarities. I felt that in the conception of the self, we should look at the desire, which is crucial for a continuity that both deepens the bond but also reduces contending processes, so that we may then say this is political and this is social, and not then know how for long eons, even within the debate, the self might be lost. But the simpler part, that's where the smile return was towards the end, when you put it very well to say writing on the rights, writing on writing, the transformation part. I think to say that others will write on it, but this we must debate, is to let go of the breast that you've become. You're becoming a good breast in your effort to envision something while remaining connected with partly what you felt Deep is saying, partly what you felt Sham is saying, partly what... So there is already a kind of a constitution of many elements in your reaching the breast. So don't let go of that. Don't let go of that to say this is open to doubt, open to debate, because breasts, people don't easily leave them. That's why people will turn to, Nishant will turn to Honey and Deepti, others will turn to economics, some others will turn to your conception. But the fact that we make an effort to reach a kind of a conglomerate, which is a bad word for breast, is important for us to not let go in debates, because then the knowledge becomes more important rather than production. Production, I think, is again at a distance from knowledge. That something will be produced which I have no idea. So you are producing a breast and others are savoring the illusion that your breast will see them through. This also needs to be given a place because this is in continuation with desire.
What to do now? Take a decision. Are we very hungry? Then take a lunch break and then Nivedita and Proximity will come in? Or do you want to do it now?
I don't think that, I think there's a particular, you all have a sense, we're here together to respond to what you say. I don't think monologues are going to be very helpful at this stage.
Okay, let us have a...
Because we need to...
Have a group discussion on this.
Well, at least we need to assimilate what you've said and then to be able to critically reflect on it rather than take it as given and mount one, set of thoughts over another. I would think that also it's 2:05.
Yeah, so let us have the lunch break.
Take stock of where we are.
What is there in lunch? Because you spoke about breast and baby.
Yeah.
No, whatever can decide. No, I just thought that one of the things which what Anup said, which undercuts in some sense, undercuts the way in which we try to make sense of our endeavor, namely professionalize. But when he problematizes profession itself, which I understand completely, I have no differences in this. Then I think we need to examine this a little bit. And second is that, having problematized it, he comes back to talking about development practice as a discipline. So somehow discipline is kosher, but profession is not.
That's also an issue.
It appears like that. Whereas we all know very well it is just the two sides of the same coin. Frankly, profession is a guild and a practice-oriented phase of a discipline. So the kind of orthodoxy of the discipline and the lack of self-critic and this whole idea of how do you put it? What do you call it? Closing ranks. The closing ranks, which happens in disciplines, happens.
It's essentially collusion.
Yeah, collusion, and also we guard against any particular external. That's why Kuhn uses this word about you need to really penetrate the citadel of a discipline to subvert it from within. I mean, you can't probably attack it from outside because it's well guarded. You need to have a Trojan horse to actually get in there and then.
Which is the theatre thing which you said worked so well.
Yeah.
Would that be useful for this?
Sure. It was a Trojan horse. It's like a Trojan horse. It was. So I mean, what is important here is, in my opinion, the small little action research project which each one of them are doing. I think we need to really. While we are holding each other's, hand holding between us and also the students, I think we need to really focus on that transformative part which cannot be lost sight of, and also the lack of certitude with which I think all these are. So this whole thing about it's an evolving enterprise, and that certitude seems to be the one which actually comes in the way, and that's the way. Unfortunately, that's the way disciplines and professions are. Because eventually everything gets, again using a Thomas Kuhn's thing. I mean, the core of the discipline is textbookish. They are the textbook. They are the ones which basically would be the unquestioned part of it. The
biblical part of it.
Yeah, the canonical. The canonical. And the periphery of the discipline is where this flux is actually happening. And so, in a way, it's correct that I think we are having an MPhil and not an MA. Even MA would have been much more textbook oriented, much more core, much more with accepted knowledge. Whereas we are in the trenches, we are in the frontiers, we are in the where flux is constantly happening. So this tentativeness and this lack of certitude is something which has to be, nurtured as an attitude, as a value system. That's very important.
I would like to add to that. There are more too, but one is that the site of the location, the local rather than so shifting the site is very, very important. So it's linked with the canonic. Otherwise, the site is the canons. Actually, it's not the local. The local is just a context. But shifting the site of the entire enterprise, that is another big area. And on the other side, there are a lot of words that we are always saying are problematic or concepts. Profession, development, I mean social itself, does it include this or does it exclude this? Transformation itself is problematic, discipline. So somehow I think we need to reclaim it and do it in our own way. Otherwise it becomes a whole object of debate rather than, and the other point is...
The one rejoinder, let me put, I was in no way wanting to give
it up.
But that gender as a term, it's a term in grammar. We relived it. Queer as a term.
Yeah.
It was a gali. We relived it. We gave it one different kind of political aesthetic actually
That's
by turning. So
perhaps,
profession, discipline. So then we have to give up the university.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Why give the university?
Absolutely.
It's deeply problematic. The history of the university.
Yes, so I think we must be aware of the fact
Aware
that
of what
we are
Reclaiming. It's a
we are
reclaiming.
reclaiming and making history.
Yeah, I'm not-
not just living history which
Yeah.
has already
Yeah.
been given.
Yeah.
Yes, we'll create it.
And just wanted to ask
Just 1 second. Just take a decision. Should we have the lunch here and continue the discussion as a round table, or do you want to take a break?
And what is after lunch? Let's
Yeah.
also decide. The
And
agenda
how do
for
we
it.
build a dialogue?
You want to take a break?
Yeah. Just talk about what did you think about after lunch, and let's have a consensus on that. Then there is a
Without a dialogue, it becomes
absolute.
I think
unsatisfying.
let us stretch ourselves a little bit. Huh?
Yes, yes.
Could it be like this? We take a 30 minutes lunch break.
Did you say stress ourselves a little bit?
Stretch.
Aren't we already?
Stretch.
It was the former.
What kind of stress?
I'm suggesting. Let us take a half an hour lunch break.
That's good.
2:45. Smoke and lunch, and then come back. 2:45 to
252. Take 7.5 minutes to smoke.
2:50 to
Damn,
say
that's
3:50. If we can have a round table deliberation on this, such that everybody speaks, have the
That's the
discussion.
major thing.
Yeah.
That's the major
Yeah.
thing.
And then give a chance to Nivedita, Dipankar, Imran, Rukmini and Rajesh also to share
My
their
suggestion
things.
is that if we
I
can
have done mine, so
we can assemble a little earlier. That would be good. I mean, I don't know whether that's
so
20 minutes or so.
Yeah.
I think we can.
So let us come back, have a round table, and then come.
Just one.
You can only produce stretch by 4 factors.
All
You can
of
reduce
us
time.
speaking separately when we are responding.
Maybe all of you respond. Yeah, fine. In your response, you
This is a
respond.
separate presentation that we do.
Yeah.
I mean, let it be more
Let it be a
dialogue
presentation by all of us.
where we are kind of responding.
Yeah. Okay, let us do that.
And maybe even invoking certain new ideas that we thought that we would be doing in our business.
So shall we commit for 2:35 or something like that? Is that all right?
Everybody coming.
Because we've got a
So those also proper. So can it be?